Let's be real for a second. If the very thought of giving a presentation makes your palms sweat, you are definitely not alone. But what if all that fear is just based on a huge misunderstanding of what a presentation is even for? Today, we're going to flip the script on how you think about presentations and turn them from something you dread into an amazing tool for your own learning and creativity. So where does all that dread come from? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. A presentation feels like a performance, right? It feels like this big, scary final exam where you're up on a stage and everyone is judging every single word, every slide. That pressure to be perfect, to have all the right answers, that's exactly what we're going to take apart today. So let's start by exploring a totally different way to look at this, a whole new purpose for giving a presentation, one that has nothing to do with judgment and everything to do with growth. Just really think about this for a second. What if standing up in front of a room wasn't about proving what you already know, but about discovering it? What if it was a space to play with ideas, to make new connections, and yeah, even to make a few mistakes, all in the name of just learning? You know, the key to this whole mind shift really comes down to understanding one crucial difference, and that's the difference between assessment and evaluation. They sound kind of the same, but trust me, their goals are worlds apart. Okay, so here's the breakdown. On the one hand, you've got assessment. Its whole goal is to increase quality, to make things better. Think of it like a practice session or a workshop. It's collaborative, everyone knows what the goal is, and it's a safe place to explore. But then you've got evaluation, and that's the final exam. Its goal is to judge quality. It's all on you, it's often a bit mysterious how the grade is decided, and the pressure is on to just be right. The big mistake we all make is treating our presentations like an evaluation when they're really meant to be a tool for assessment. All right, so now that we've kind of pulled those two ideas apart, how do we actually use a presentation as a tool for assessment? Well, lucky for us, there's already a map for that, a kind of blueprint for how we think and learn. And this is it. It's called Bloom's Taxonomy, and it's basically a framework for learning. Think of it like a pyramid. The skills down at the bottom are the foundation. We call them lower order sinking skills. But as we climb, we get to the really complex, powerful stuff at the top, the higher order thinking skills. A great presentation isn't about just hanging out at the bottom. It's about making that full climb to the top. So let's start our climb. These first few steps of the pyramid, they're absolutely essential. You can't get to the top without them. But the real goal is not to stop here. First up is remembering. This is pretty straightforward. It's just your brain recalling facts, figures, and basic ideas. Now, what's so interesting here is that even though it's necessary, it's considered a lower order skill. It's not the end goal, it's just the springboard. So, when you're prepping for your presentation, this is that first phase of just gathering pure information. You're pulling data from your research, remembering key points from a lecture, and basically just getting all your raw materials together before you can actually start building anything. Okay, let's take one step up to understanding, and this is a huge leap. It's one thing to remember a fact, it's a completely different thing to be able to explain it to somebody else, in your own words. That's when you know you really get it. And this is exactly why the Q&A session after a presentation is so critical. Seriously, when you can answer a question on the fly, clearly and confidently, you're proving that you don't just have the information memorized, you actually understand it. All right, we've built our base camp, we've got our foundation. Now we're ready to climb to the really cool stuff, the complex, creative, and powerful skills at the top of this pyramid. This is where the magic really happens. Next on our climb is applying. This is the point where you stop just being a consumer of information and you start being a user of information. You are taking everything you've remembered and understood, and you're actively putting it to work to build something. I mean, think about it. Every single time you organize your research into a story that makes sense, or you pick the perfect picture to illustrate a point, or you design your slides so they're easy to read, you are applying your knowledge. You're making active, smart choices. Let's keep climbing. Next up, analyzing. This is where you graduate to becoming a critical thinker. You're not just presenting a pile of facts anymore. You're digging deeper, you're looking for patterns, making connections, and starting to form your own unique point of view. This is the level where you get to say, I read this source and I actually disagree with this part, and here's why. Suddenly, you're not just reporting on the material, you're having a conversation with it. You're developing your own take. And now we reach evaluating. But wait a second, that word might set off some alarm bells. This isn't about you being evaluated. This is about you learning the skill of evaluation. It's about you learning how to judge the credibility of a source or weigh the strength of different arguments. And let's be honest, this is a tough skill. It can feel really stressful and difficult to judge information or someone else's work fairly. But learning how to do it through things like peer reviews or analyzing sources is an incredibly valuable, high-level skill.
And here we are. We have made it to the very summit of the pyramid, creating. This is the highest level of thinking there is. It's where you go beyond everything that already exists to generate something totally new.
This is what makes presentations so special. Unlike a written exam where there's usually one right answer you have to provide, a presentation is a space where you are totally free to explore your imagination. You can connect to ideas that nobody's ever connected before, you can propose some wild new solution, you can express yourself creatively, all without that fear of getting it wrong. So, when you stop looking at a presentation like it's some final judgment, and you start seeing it as this journey up the pyramid of learning, well, it becomes something else entirely. It basically becomes a learning superpower. So just think about the incredible toolkit you're building with every single presentation. You're not just memorizing facts, you're developing a much deeper understanding. You're building critical thinking skills, becoming a better communicator and a better researcher. And most importantly, you're giving yourself a space for creative expression and collaboration. This is what a presentation is truly for. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you have to give a presentation, how are you going to see it? As some terrifying test that you just have to survive, or as a unique opportunity, a safe space to climb, to learn, and to create something amazing? The choice is all yours.